on now.
Sean thinks he's in charge of the camera now. And
Matter
now
of
he's
fact- matter of fact, I'll sit right back here behind the camera
Can we turn it this way?
No, you turn it.
so I can be the critical a-hole that doesn't do anything, just complains about it.
Alright, so guys, we're going to talk to you about knee pain today, and we're going to use sitting knee pillow squeezes as our exercise. Katie's going to be our model and show them. But we're going to explain a little bit about what knee pillow squeezes has to do with knee pain and how it might help, and what your knee pain might have to do with the rest of your body. So why it might happen and what our view might be versus what other people might have in the medical community. So for your knee, where it's in between your ankle joint and your hip joint, so if anything is not working right with your hip joint or your knee or your ankle joint, then your knee is kind of going to get caught in between that. So what knee pillow squeeze I'm going to show you and demonstrate with that is if we can get your hip working better, then that's going to transfer energy and motion to how your knee is going to be working when you're walking around and when you're standing. So Katie and I were discussing this a little bit earlier. So in particular to getting sneakers and shoes and how people get fit for orthotics, insoles, different sneakers, they might go on something to see how their weight is on their feet. You might notice on your sneakers how they wear differently, maybe even different left or right. So people might say, well, that's just because your feet are a certain way, but we would look at it as the overall balance of your body. Really, a lot comes down to how your hips are functioning. So if we can get your hips functioning more evenly and get just better motion in general, then that'll transfer to getting your feet to strike better. And we're going to use the sitting knee pillow squeezes as to get some more motion in your hips to transfer that. But where your knee might come in with that is if, let's say, you're standing and you always wear your feet, where you wear out your shoes on the outside of your feet, let's say, then all these muscles on the outside of your hips are doing more work than they should. Now, if we can get the muscle more on the inside of your hips and your inner thighs to engage more to get your knees pointing straight ahead and more everything working bilaterally, then you'll be a little more symmetrical and everything will be working more evenly left to right. So we're going to show you knee pillow squeeze right here. So if you come facing the camera first, so come a little bit more over in front of the camera. Right there. Good. So what you want to do is sit towards the edge of a chair. So even if you have a back on your chair, you want to sit towards the edge. You want your knees, your hip knee to your ankle to be a 90-degree angle. So knees in front of your hips and your ankles right under that. And only about 4 to 6 inches with your feet from each other and your toes pointing directly straight ahead. And you want to have a little bit of an arch in your back, so not a huge arch and not using your rib cage to extend, but more from your hips. So, and we'll show you this from the side too. But going from, if you went from a slouch position to rolling up gently from your hips to get into a straight spine position. And then we're going to go through some knee pillow squeezes here, and then we'll show you from the side. So again, she's going to keep her upper body really relaxed. Again, not extending. A lot of times people use a rib cage like that to really get the extension that you should get from your hips and your lower back. So we're really going to, again, just get that motion from your hips and just gently squeeze with your knees inward. And we should have people do 3 sets of 20 of these.
So something you can kind of take note to while you're doing these is how the work feels left side compared to right. If you feel like those sides are actually working evenly, squeezing on the pillow, or if it feels like one side's actually working harder than the other, that kind of brings to your attention that your right side and your left side aren't necessarily working equally right now.
You might even feel sitting in a sitting position, just sit down in a chair and get in a symmetrical position like we talked about, that you might not even feel like your weight is evenly distributed on your hips or even on your feet. You might feel like sometimes people want to be on the outside or inside of one foot more than the other. And again, we're going to use this to show how much we can engage all the muscle around your hips and around your thighs to get more symmetrical loading there. You might feel, again, even just sitting position to get everything a little more even.
And that symmetrical loading, symmetrical work that John keeps talking about comes down to the same idea that people will say, well, I can't run because I have a bad knee. So our question is, well, don't you use both knees when you run? Or do you just run on one?
Unless you run like that. Maybe you do.
One-legged race.
I used to be good at those. But the idea is that you're using both legs, you're using both knees, so why do you just have one bad knee? Is it that this knee is actually not as good as the other one, or is it that you're missing some of that symmetry left to right, so it's not working the same, which is what we're kind of trying to create here.
And people go to their doctors and they say, well, just because you've gotten old, well, your good knee isn't younger than your bad knee, so we don't let that excuse fly here.
Cool.
All right, so now I want to show you from the side. That's good right there. Good. Scoot a little more forward there. Good. So again, let's show everyone the slouch position. So if you go all the way back like that, and then try to just go up from your hips right like there. And again, she's not overextending from her rib cage like that, which a lot of people do, even if they're doing something like a standing exercise and people try to be straight up and down. Well, a lot of times they just use their rib cage and that kind of mid-thoracic point here, and that's why people lead to a lot of other issues, and we can get into that. So again, really just getting a straight spine position, a little bit of arching your lower back there, but really just keeping everything relaxed through your upper body, letting those hips engage.
Nothing from the peanut gallery, huh, Sean?
Well, I was going to ask you about your knees.
What about them?
I mean, how are they doing? Tell them about your knees.
They're probably sick of hearing about my knees by now.
Wait, they haven't heard about your knees. Come on.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, probably since last year. I'm honestly doing much, much better. I mean, I don't just do knee pillow squeezes, but I've had 5 knee surgeries now, which were long before I even knew Egoscue existed, which is a whole nother story. But I have, even in my office, a picture of myself when I was probably, 6, 7 years old, of me standing playing soccer, or taking a picture of us play soccer, and you could see my left knee even then kind of caving in towards the other one. So this isn't something that, it hadn't been because I've been playing soccer for 15 years, or because I just cut wrong when I was playing basketball. My leg and my body was already in a position that it wasn't supposed to be in. So I worked with great doctors, I worked with great PTs, athletic trainers, you name it, but then why did I keep having surgery? Obviously, whatever was causing the problem in the first place was still there, which is exactly where doing my menus in here and getting my body in alignment kind of kick in so I can get back to doing the stuff that I haven't done in a very long time.
Awesome, Katie. Thanks for sharing your story.
So what have you done? What can you do now that you couldn't do?
This might sound stupid, but I haven't been able to actually sit down and get my butt down to my heels. It had probably been about 3 or 4 years since I had been able to do that. And it was probably 6 months ago now. I was working with a client and I was trying to show them the position to get into for an exercise. And I got in it and my eyes actually welled up and it was like, Sean, guess what? And it sounds so small and so silly almost, but it had been a very long time. A lot of restriction. Even just going out for walks with my dogs, starting to do some jogging and that kind of stuff again. I haven't been medically cleared for, I can't tell you how long, years and years, that I'm starting to be able to do that again without, my knees swelling up to the size of a balloon and not being able to walk for the next 3 days. So, just a few small things.
A little bit.
So do your knee pillow squeezes.
So do your knee pillow squeezes.
So how will people know? Well, obviously their knee will feel better. But what other things will people notice, before and after, or as they're doing these exercises? What should they expect?
Things will feel different. I would say the straightest my knee ever looked. John asked me after my menu, he said, how do you feel? I was like, feel weird. He's like, what? I was like, it doesn't feel normal. And he's like, that's good because your leg's actually straight right now. But honestly, some of the things that I didn't notice were the biggest for me, like climbing upstairs. That I didn't notice I was in pain every time I was going up to do the laundry. Or I didn't notice, that I had to cut my walk short because my knee started to hurt. And my poor dog had to, run in the backyard. That's like this big. But it's those kind of things that you kind of have to sit back and actually take note to, because it's those small victories that add up. It's not always that huge aha moment, even though you eventually get there. It takes some time, it takes some work.
Awesome.
All right, thanks guys, and feel free to like this, share with your friends, and comment below, and tell us what you want to know about all this. And if you haven't done this exercise before, we can email it to you also. Thanks guys, take care.